There's a vacancy on the San Diego City Council, but some neighborhoods in the district won't get to vote on who will represent them. I'm Dwayne Brown. We'll explain why tonight on KPBS Evening Edition.
And I'm Peggy Pico. Also ahead, Congress made a deal to avoid the fiscal cliff, how it will impact your family budget, and how much more will you pay in taxes. Plus, what kind of impact will it have on San Diego's economy?
And there's been a lot of talk about building a new Charger stadium in San Diego's East Village downtown. Tonight, we talked to an insider about some other options.
I was dancing.
And she was one of the best-selling singers of the 1950s. We remember Patti Page. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Irwin Jacobs and by
An odd redistricting rule will exclude some San Diego voters from deciding who will replace former council member Tony Young at City Hall. Young left the council to take over the local chapter of the Red Cross. Now, the city will have to hold a special election to replace him. KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr joins us from the News Center. Katie, why are some voters being shut out of this upcoming election?
Well, Dwayne, as you know, the city just added a new 9th council district. This required redrawing the lines of the 8 other existing districts. And the city code says because former city council member Tony Young was elected in the old District 4, and this is a special election, his replacement must be elected from the old district as well. That means any candidates or voters who live in neighborhoods recently added to District 4 cannot take part in the election. This impacts the neighborhoods of Redwood Village and Rolando Park. Now, Council President Todd Gloria says it's something that needs to be fixed, but that it probably won't be before this election has to be held.
And Katie, when can we expect the special election to be held?
Well, the city charter says the election must be held within 90 days of a member resigning. Young's resignation was made official on January 1st, so the clock has started running. The city's trying to hold a joint special election with the state for another office, which would save about $100,000. And city officials are tentatively planning on holding the election on March 26th. And if there needs to be a runoff, if no one candidate receives 50% plus 1 of the vote, that would have to be held within 45 days of the election. So District 4 could potentially be without a council member for about 4.5 months.
And who will represent District 4 in the meantime?
Council President Todd Gloria says the council staff for District 4 have agreed to stay on until a new council member is seated. So if residents have concerns about a pothole or other issues, they can call or email the office like they've always been able to. And Gloria says he'll supervise the staff and work to represent the 4th districts until someone new is elected.
KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr. The Dow soared more than 300 points of the first trading day of the year. On News, Congress had passed a compromise on the fiscal cliff. More on the deal from Diane Kepler of the Associated Press.
A central premise of my campaign for president was to change the tax code that was too skewed towards the wealthy at the expense of working middle-class Americans. Tonight, we've done that.
President Obama is praising the fiscal cliff deal after the House of Representatives joined the Senate and approving it late Tuesday. The House voted 257 to 167 in favor of the bill, with about a third of Republicans joining most Democrats in support. Debate was fierce until the end.
There's $4 trillion of new debt and deficit, and there's no pay for. And there's no anticipation of a pay for.
This legislation allows us to get done what we need to get done. This bill is vital for our nation's economic well-being.
The measure allows tax rates to go up for individuals earning more than $400,000 a year and couples making more than $450,000. The bill's supporters saw it as necessary to stop the possibility of the economy sliding back into recession once automatic tax hikes and spending cuts kicked in with the new year. However, supporters from both parties expressed regret that the measure did not provide a sweeping plan to address spending and federal deficits. President Obama agreed more needs to be done.
The fact is the deficit is still too high, and we're still investing too little in the things that we need for the economy to grow as fast as it should.
If Congress and the president had failed to act, $536 billion in tax increases and $110 billion in spending cuts were set to begin with the new year. Diane Kepley, The Associated Press.
Most of the people we spoke with in San Diego today were happy to hear a deal was reached to avoid going over the fiscal cliff, but they were less happy to see the political infighting continue among Democrats and Republicans.
I'm kind of on a fixed income, so as long as it doesn't affect Social Security, I'll be okay. But people who are in a different income bracket, I think it's going to affect them, and I don't think they're going to like it.
I think it was ridiculous. I think the Republicans are just doing what they can to make Obama look bad. And Obama's doing the best he can. I think he's doing a great job.
I'm not excited about it. Stock market's pretty happy. I love Obama, but I think that he might have compromised, which is okay, but the Republicans don't seem to want to compromise at all. They still have a lot of work to do. This Congress, I hold them in contempt. I really don't like the fact that, the average guy has to do a job, and if he doesn't, he doesn't get paid. These guys don't do anything, and they're still getting paid.
Washington's last-minute deal to avoid increasing taxes is a win for California. Peggy Pico finds out what it all means to San Diego's economy.
As part of the new congressional fiscal agreement, defense contractors get a reprieve from military spending cuts, and unemployment benefits will continue. But payroll taxes will go up, as will income taxes for people who make $400,000 a year or more. Alan Jin, assistant professor of economics at the University of San Diego, and Lynn Reeser, chief economist for Point Loma Nazarene University, joins us to explain what this could mean for San Diego's financial forecast. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Alan, my first question for you. San Diegans are going to see about, I think, about $80 a month if they're making $50,000 more, $50,000 a year in this sort of rollback of payroll taxes to a couple years ago. Will that have any effect on the economy?
I think it'll have a slight effect. Yeah, people making $50,000 a year will pay about $1,000 extra. People making $100,000 will pay an extra $2,000 in payroll taxes. I think it could have a slight dampening effect. People are going to take home less, and so as a result, that's going to impact spending, particularly for people in the lower income brackets who spend almost all of the money that they take home.
I believe there is a cap on that as well. It doesn't keep going up for people who make more than $200,000.
No, I think the cap is somewhere around $110,000 or so.
So I knew there was something like that. Now, Lynn, your 2013 economic outlook was actually quite optimistic. You called it, "Will the fiscal fog clear?" Is San Diego in a haze still? And if so, what can we do to clear it up?
It is still in a haze. We did see the reprieve on the tax side, but we still have, in another couple of months, big decisions to make on the spending side. Those automatic spending cuts, which could affect us very severely in defense and scientific medical research, are still on the table, and that will all need to be negotiated.
So the haze is still hanging over us until we've made, those choices have been made. I see. Ellen, what do you predict as far as our local economic growth in the coming year as far as a positive outlook?
I think we're going to have a good year in 2013. 2012 has turned out pretty well in terms of job growth. I think we'll even do better in 2013. That goes counter to what some economists think, that they think that 2013 will be a weak year. But I'm optimistic. I expect that we'll add about 25 to 30,000 jobs in the local economy in the coming year.
And we're already at a good place, right?
Well, we're better than where we were. The unemployment rate is below 9%. It's still pretty high, but compared to where we were just a couple of years ago at about 11%, we're a lot better.
Okay, and Lynn, where do our real estate industry, I understand it's been on the rebound for a little bit of a while. There's home values, they're going up a little. Do you predict that will continue?
Yes, the housing market definitely has turned the corner, which is great news for San Diego. It had been the big detriment to our economy, and now will provide us some upside in 2013. We look for increases in sales, new construction, and home prices. It won't be the return to the 2006 peaks, but it certainly will be an improvement for most homeowners, and buying opportunities for buyers.
Right, and Alan, this is your area of expertise. What can you add to that?
I would agree with that. We're going to have a positive job growth, and interest rates are historic lows. That helps on the demand side of the market. There's been a lack of construction in single-family homes, and also a lot of the foreclosures have been cleared out of the system. So there's a tight supply now, and that combination bodes for higher housing prices in the coming year.
Yeah, absolutely, and I understand that certainly there's even bidding wars now or back on the real estate agency or industry. Lynn, let's talk about the downside of this. You still believe there's some things that could drag us down here in San Diego as far as the economy?
Well, the automatic spending cuts will go in place if we do not have a resolution in Congress in another couple months. So that remains a cloud over the area. We also have a lot of uncertainties on part of business about health care cost, various regulations. So there are those uncertainties, but I do believe that 2013 will be a better year than 2012, and we had a pretty good year last year.
And well, let's talk about those military spending cuts. Obviously, a lot of defense contractors here and military spending here in San Diego. Alan, do you think they will go through in full effect? And if so, what kind of impact do you think that would have?
Actually, I think some sort of compromise is going to be reached as far as that's concerned. And so I think there might be some slight cuts, but I think for the most part it'll be pushed into the future. Potentially, if the cuts went through in their entirety, I've heard estimates that up to 30,000 jobs locally could be impacted. So that'd be a serious problem as far as the local economy is concerned.
Well, we've seen one compromise, so maybe we'll see another one. We are out of time. Thank you both for talking with us. Now, our viewers can find out more information about the financial forecast on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you.
Welcome.
The newest members of San Diego's congressional delegation will be sworn in tomorrow. Scott Peters and Juan Vargas will take the oath of office at 9 in the morning. Peters has been assigned to the House Armed Services Committee, while Vargas will join the Foreign Affairs Committee. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has been released from a New York hospital after being treated for a blood clot in her head. Her spokesperson says she's eager to get back to the office. Clinton had been keeping in touch from her hospital bed, talking to staff by phone and reviewing paperwork.
I was dancing with my darling to the Tennessee waltz when an old friend...
Singer Patti Page has died in the North County of Encinitas. She was the biggest selling female artist of the 1950s with hits like the Tennessee Waltz. She sold more than 100 million records, had several television shows, and appeared in movies. Page was set to receive a Lifetime Achievement honor at next month's Grammy Awards. Patti Page was 85.
My sweetheart from me.
In the first 2 days of the year, we've already seen gas prices go up and down. We found it down to $3.59 a gallon for cash in Murphy Canyon today. AAA says the average price fell 0.3 cents today after rising about a penny yesterday. The average price around the county is $3.61 a gallon, a bit higher than a week ago, but still lower than a year ago at this time. Chargers have started interviewing candidates for general manager to replace A.J. Smith. He was fired Monday, along with head coach Norv Turner. The first interview happened yesterday in San Diego. Sports writers believe it was with Jimmy Ray, the team's director of player personnel. It was a disappointing season for the Chargers, to say the least. They missed the playoffs for the third season in a row, but could there be some promising news on the stadium front? One of San Diego's most prominent movers and shakers is willing to take the lead on a new proposal. KPBS investigations producer Joanne Farian sat down with Steve Cushman to talk about his plan.
He's been called Mr. San Diego. He has sat on more than 70 boards, was head of the Port Commission for several years, and most recently helped negotiate the new convention center expansion. Steve Cushman is the consummate insider. He joins me now to talk about his vision for a new Chargers stadium. Now, Mr. Cushman, you just finished working for the last 3 years for the past mayor, Jerry Sanders, negotiating a new, bigger convention center. There's been a lot of talk about perhaps building a new Chargers stadium downtown, but I think you're in a position to know whether or not a plan plan to build a stadium downtown is actually viable, or is there something better?
Well, one thing I know, it's not going to be on the 10th Avenue Marine Terminal. However, there is a site across the street that we looked at for the expansion of the convention center at one time that possibly could be that downtown site. The advantage of downtown, of course, is there's already lots of infrastructure. The trolley is there. There's lots of parking. Downtown could work. Every site has its limitations. Obviously, there's a bus terminal there now, so we'd have to clean it up. But that is certainly one of the potential sites.
Now, you mentioned the 10th Avenue Marine Terminal, so I want to throw in another name there, Doug Manchester. So he's a hotel developer, pretty famous guy around town, owner of the newspaper. You know that his paper's been pushing for 10th Avenue Marine Terminal. I was at a breakfast meeting about a month or so ago where he was the guest speaker at SDSU, and he actually said, you know what, I think redeveloping Qualcomm is a better idea. Give me $200 million and I could do this. Now, that's an idea that appeals to you, isn't it?
It does. Doug and I have been friends for over 40 years, and this solution, I think, has some legs. Whether the figure is 200 million, 100 million, 400 million, obviously, I don't think any of us know. I think what it does bring up, though, is that the solution should be on the table. We certainly do not want the Chargers to leave. Dean Spanos and his family have spent over $10 million in 10 years. They've certainly been wonderful public citizens. If we don't come up with a solution, I am very concerned they're going to leave San Diego. So I think Qualcomm should be on the table. I believe that we should hire a firm such as we hired for the convention center expansion out of Arizona, who has a division that does this type of analysis. I think that's what we should do. I think as we move forward in this area, this solution could be the answer, because you realize this is a piece of property today that's costing the city money every single year. I think it's a piece of property that could bring lots of income to the city if we put in apartments and retail and the development of a new stadium. I think it could be a wonderful issue for us.
Would you work with Doug Manchester on a proposal like this?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. Doug and I have worked on a lot of things over a lot of years, sometimes together, sometimes unfortunately on opposite sides of the table. But I have tremendous respect for Doug. And if there's anybody that could do it, Doug and Perry Deely, who handles his real estate, they're wonderful people. They've spent a lot of time looking at this. As you know, Perry Deely, Charles Black, a number of years ago, did a study on Qualcomm. I think it should be back on the table.
I know you also have a relationship with the Spanos family. Back in 2007, you were quoted as saying, look, I wouldn't be talking about a new stadium unless I knew they wanted to stay in San Diego. And you said you knew. You felt assured that they did. Have you had conversations with them recently about this?
I have not recently had any conversations with Dean Spanos or Mark Faviani. Back in 2007, I served on the Port Commission. At that time, we had 550 acres still there in Chula Vista. It was something that the team was interested in. We did some study at the time. We first looked at National City. That didn't work out. But I still feel that Chula Vista is also a viable site if, in fact, the Chargers wanted to look at it. That's what we were talking about in 2007. We spent a lot of time on it. It didn't work at that time, but I think no reason it, too, couldn't be on the table.
So the current mayor, the new mayor, Bob Filner, has said, look, I'm going to be the toughest negotiator when it comes to a new stadium, and I don't think we should spend any public money. Could you envision redeveloping Qualcomm without taxpayer funds?
I believe it's possible. I believe it is one potential solution if, in fact, the city is now losing money on that piece of property. If, in fact, there was no rent that the developer had to pay, if, in fact, the NFL would put up some money for the process, if, in fact, you could build apartments and retail, I think it could be done without public subsidy.
We don't have a lot of time left now, though, coming off such a bad season. You know, no head coach, no general manager right now. Do you think there's going to be public support behind a new stadium at all?
You know, unfortunately, sports, there are good days and bad days. It was a tough year. I have no hesitation paying for my season tickets for next year. I know it's going to be great. We always say, oh, it's a rebuilding year. This was a tough year. But let me tell you, we're all enthused about the Chargers. We have to go through this rough patch, but I know it's going to be a winner for us.
Steve Cushman, thanks so much for being here.
I'm Ray Suarez. On the next News Hour, the latest news, analysis, and in-depth reporting you've come to expect from our team. Join us tomorrow for the PBS NewsHour.
The biggest desalination plant in the Western Hemisphere is due to begin construction soon in San Diego County. Within the next 4 years, it could be providing up to 10% of our drinking water. The plant will push everyone's water rates higher, and how the costs will be shared still has to be hammered out. KPBS reporter Allison St. John takes us to the site.
You may recognize the spot. It's just north of the distinctive tower of the Encino power plant in Carlsbad. There are many reasons that a private company, Poseidon Resources, chose this site for a huge desalination plant. Poseidon's Peter McLagan says one is that San Diego badly needs an insurance policy in case it gets cut off from water supplies.
We get almost 90% of our water from somewhere outside San Diego County, and that somewhere else is, and that water from somewhere else is the subject of intense competition. It's a subject of comprehensive regulations and drought, and depends on snowpack and rainfall to get here. So we're looking to the Pacific Ocean for a partial solution to San Diego supplies, to look for at least one source that's under local control, drought-proof, and not dependent on snowpack and rainfall.
Another reason this is a good site is Poseidon will be able to use the ocean intake and outfall channels built by the power plant for its cooling system.
For the purposes of the desalination plant, we're going to use 300 million gallons a day.
Of that 300 million gallons of ocean water, 100 million will go through a reverse osmosis system.
You introduce the seawater through these little holes under high pressure, and as the water flows down through the membrane, some of it, which is flowing through these blue channels, is going to pass across the membrane, become fresh water, and enter this center collection tube. So the fresh water comes out the middle, and then the remaining salts and all the remaining seawater will flow straight through out the back.
Water goes through these filters 8 times before it's drinkable. McLagan says the membranes inside are enough to stretch from San Diego to Sacramento. Then the extra salty seawater goes back to the ocean.
For every gallon of concentrated seawater that's returned here, we bring in 2 more gallons of seawater to mix with it before the combined flow goes out to the ocean.
Critics of the plant say the company won't be able to dilute the salty water enough to avoid harming marine life. They also accuse the project of making money for investors at the expense of ratepayers. Investors will pay for the plant, but they'll be paid back as ratepayers buy the water. Critics say recycling existing water supplies to drinkable standards would be cheaper. Orange County already has a big water recycling, or IPR, plant. But it feeds water from the plant into a huge groundwater basin before treating it again. San Diego doesn't have such an underground holding tank, and getting state permits is more difficult. Sandra Curl, Deputy General Manager of San Diego's Water Authority, says the county couldn't afford to pass up this shovel-ready project.
This project has been is ready to go at this point. And I think when IPR is ready to go, there will be a need there as well.
Curl says ratepayers will see the benefit of building the desalination plant now, because interest rates are really low and borrowing money for the project is cheap.
So it's a very good time to be hitting the bond market.
There are 24 different water agencies represented on the San Diego County Water Authority. Gary Arendt of the Valley Center Water District supports the desalination project.
The reality is that the cheap water supplies, the State Water Project, the Colorado River, that's over. In other words, the next increment of supply is going to be much more expensive.
But like several other water agencies, Arendt is worried that some districts might end up bearing the brunt of the higher costs of the desalinated water. He has concerns about how the extra costs will be shared across the region.
Of course I do, because there's no certainty as how it's going to turn out.
But Arendt says one thing is certain: water rates will be going up.
Make a copy of your water bill and stick it in the drawer and pull it out in 10 years, and it'll look very cheap.
Sandra Curl says a lot of people will be watching how this desalination project goes.
There's 12 desal projects in various stages of consideration in the state of California. Depending on how this project goes, will, I'm sure, impact whether or not those projects move forward. For California, that is very dependent on water and very challenged by water sources, it could provide an opening to this state that hasn't been there before to have a much more reliable source of supply.
Desalinating water from the ocean is more expensive than recycling existing sources of drinking water. The unfortunate phrase toilet to tap has made recycling more difficult for the public to swallow. The decision to buy water from this desalination plant is an historic one, but it will be years in the future till we know if it was a wise choice.
Poseidon plans to start construction of the desal plant this month. The ocean could be supplementing our drinking water as early as 2016. California's water managers got some good news from the mountains today. The snowpack in the Sierra Nevada is about normal for this time of year, thanks to a series of storms last month. Most of the state gets its drinking water from Sierra snowmelt. And the new year started with some heavy surf at our beaches. The Weather Service was predicting waves of up to 9 feet, but the surfers we talked to at Wind and Sea Beach said they were about half that size. But there is still a warning about the waters down in Imperial Beach tonight. They're off limits south of Carnation Avenue because of sewage and runoff from the Tijuana River. County officials say the recent rainfall is to blame for the contamination. No rain in the forecast for the next few days. The Weather Service is expecting partly cloudy conditions and mid-60s along the coast, just a little bit warmer for the inland areas with a wind advisory until 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Wind gusts could reach 40 miles an hour in the foothills, and evening temperatures will be in the 30s in the mountains. Sunny and low 60s in the desert tomorrow with some clouds moving in later in the week. Tonight's stories are on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.